You were an early adopter of the web show format and the web series format.
Yes.
Uh, I mean, actually a pioneer in this.
I created the first branded web series,
And that was
The Temp Life.
the Temp Life, yes. How did you come up with the idea of using a branded series?
It was, I mean, it was 2006 around then, and we had a client at the agency, a temp agency called Spherion,
Hmm.
and they were looking to do something cool and different and digital. And at the time, YouTube was just kind of becoming popular. Um, and I thought as soon as I saw YouTube for myself the first time, I thought, I mean, this is going to change a lot of things, and also this is how I'm going to be able to make shows, and have it relate to what I do for a living. Um, so Spherion came to us and they said, we want to reach kind of the early adopters, the web savvy audience, um, and do something digitally. And at the time, you have to remember there was no Twitter, there was, Facebook was not open to everyone. It was closed. You have to have a college email address. So it was like MySpace and YouTube and Flickr. So I thought at the time, along with a lot of other people, I'm sure, but I thought, like the old days of television, why not create a show? Like, why don't we just make a show for Spherion as a way for them to kind of get some of their messages out, um, but not in a really advertising kind of way, because again, it was PR. And I thought, well, what would make that audience care about a temp agency? So came up with the idea, The Office was also becoming popular at the time, and I thought, well, let's make a show about really crappy temp jobs and really bad temps, because that's what people know. That's what people, that's the perception. And
Had you ever
Spherion,
had a temp job?
oh yeah, I was a Spherion temp actually.
Okay.
I had been, during my summers off from school, um, and I thought, well, let's just go for it. Like, how cool would it be to have a good temp agency make a show about crappy temp jobs? And we ran the idea by them, and they said, okay, YouTube, what is YouTube? And so we shot the very first. I mean, I don't even call it a pilot. I call it I call it dated, is what I call it at this point. But they had no budget. They gave us, I think we had like $2,000,
To do the
for
first
everything,
season?
like, which had to include like $2,000, um, because they had no idea, and the technology. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of there, and they're also on YouTube at the time. You wouldn't dare like do anything branded. You know what I mean? Like they would kill you on YouTube. It was all about you know self-expression, and then as soon as Lonely Girl kind of came and everyone knew it was a fake, I thought that was genius. I said, okay, now I know that we can do scripted. Like,
There's a
now I
place
know
for
we can do something that we can make a show. And so we shot the very first episode of the Temp Life, uh, and we shot it in an abandoned office in the Empire State Building, which is where I work, where my company is. Um, and it was me and my boyfriend, and like we had a single DV, like a mini DV camera, just the one,
Uh-huh.
and it's mostly like that episode is a lot of conversation back and forth where I would hold the camera and he would talk. He would hold the camera and I would talk. And then we would and then we found like a chair and rolled it out into the hallway and let's kind of balance the camera on that.
It's amazing how creative you can get when you need
I
to.
mean, yeah, and I thought, well, oh God, all right. And so we did that to do like two shots. That's how we'd have to do two shots. And then we finish it, edit it in iMovie, and then that was it. And then that was the show. And then so the first two seasons, actually the first three seasons of The Temp Life was all of the actors in the show were employees of the agency that I worked for. Those are all people I worked with.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
Mark and Laura and
Mark was my boyfriend, and Laura, and literally everyone else, with the exception of the guy who played Tom Cruise in the
okay.
third season.
That guy was
He
great.
was actually our director.
That is one of the funniest scenes in a web show. Still to this day.
That's his name is Evan Ferrante, and he does a incredible Tom Cruise impression. You know, he does it professionally. He's also a director. He was our director, and so he was doing that. But he's Adrian Grenier's cousin.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
Was that the most fun scene to write?
I wrote that. I don't know what. I think a lot of that was improv. You know, Evan and I just kind of. Evan actually was also. He's an actor. He was on a show that I used to love when I was in college, called Swan's Crossing.
I don't know that.
Yeah. It was a teen soap. It was Sarah Michelle Gellar's first big show or thing, whatever. And so it was like it was like a Sweet Valley High kind of thing. But anyway, but he was on that show, and you know, we said let's just like improv. I think let's just improv this and see how it goes. And we did, and because I couldn't write him as Tom Cruise because he just does it all the time. He does it so well.
Okay.
So I just said let's just improv that, and that was pretty much what we did. But yeah, for the first 3 seasons, everyone on the show was employees of Prosec, because we didn't have any budget. Like we couldn't pay like actors. And then
was anybody else professionally or have any training as an actor besides you?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, we can be honest.
It was all credible. I mean, you wouldn't know
they
that.
weren't horrible. They weren't horrible. I mean, it was fun for them.
Credible, you know.
Yeah, it was fun for them. It was, you know, and a lot of them are still at the company. But then, you know, by the time the 3rd season was kind of ending, the space was growing up. Shows started looking more professional, you know, and you know, even a little bit more professional. Like around then, that's like when the Guild started to come out. You had the Guild, and then you had like, you know, Prom Queen and all these other things. And I, at the time, was working with a lot of the studios, the digital studios, on the marketing and PR side. So I was working with like Generate, which is now Alloy Digital, and I was working with My Damn Channel, and I was working with you know, MSN, and so I was seeing these shows, you know, because I had to promote them, and I thought, well, we've got to make this look more like that.